Dr. Maté. I want to thank you so much for your work. It means a lot to me. My name's Tess, and my question is, what can we do on a wide scale to structure healing within society?
To structure healing within a society? Well, there's sort of the answer that's limited to the health field. Then there's a broader answer. Let me give you the broader one first. In Canada, now, indigenous people never used to have autoimmune disease prior to colonialism. Today, an indigenous woman in Canada has a risk of rheumatoid arthritis 6 times that of anybody else. And people of color in this country, Hispanic people, people of color, indigenous people, have much higher rates of autoimmune disease than Caucasians. Women have 80% of autoimmune disease. These are not individual genetic health factors. These are social phenomena. You can't address health in isolation from what's happening in the culture. And it's always the most vulnerable, the least empowered, who are higher risk for disease. And you saw this during COVID. So this is a social question. Children whose parents are stressed are much more likely to have asthma. A black woman in this country, the more episodes of racism she has to endure, the higher her risk for asthma. So is asthma simply an inflammation of the airways and a narrowing of the airways in an individual organ in an isolated body, or is it a social malaise? Well, you can't deal with it simply as an isolated physiological event, because the physiology is inseparable from the psychology, and the psychology is inseparable from social conditions and relationships. So there's no broad answer to the health issue in this country or in any country without looking at all the social factors that bear upon individual health. In the health field, if they only, like the mind-body unity that I demonstrate or bring all the literature forward in my books, I didn't invent it. 2,500 years ago in Greece, Socrates said that the problem with the doctors of today is that they separate the mind from the body. The doctors of today, 2,500 years ago. In 1870, Jean-Marie Charcot, who first described multiple sclerosis, said this was a stress-driven disease. In 1890, Sir William Osler, a great Canadian-American and British physician, said that rheumatoid arthritis was a stress-driven disease. In 1870, Paget, a British surgeon, breast surgeon, said that breast cancer in women is largely driven by emotional factors. And since then, we've had the science to prove it. But let me ask you all a question here. This is the question I didn't ask because I couldn't see you all, but now I can. Raise your hand if in the last 5 years you've been to a gastroenterologist, rheumatologist, neurologist, respirologist, cardiologist, neurologist, any kind of an ologist. Just raise your hand, okay? Okay, great, terrific, a lot of people. Now raise your hand again if they ask you about childhood trauma. Do I see any hands at all? Maybe not. Did they ask you about stress in your life? Few hands. Did they ask you about your relationship to your spouse? How you feel about your work? Did they ask you about how you feel about yourself as a human being? These questions had everything to do while you were there in the office. So in the health field, it'd be a tremendous step forward if they only taught science to medical students. The science, totally non-controversial, of mind-body unity, the science of trauma. So there's that broad social answer, And then there's the specific answer in the health field. How to make that, how to bring that about, I haven't got a clue. Because the system is designed not to change. But we all can work at it. Okay? Wish I could tell you more.